So dream team for round 5. To be fair, this has probably been the hardest team to pick. For every guy I've picked, there's a handful of guys that I haven't picked. The balance is not there. There's one team in particular which has got kind of overrepresented, and some other teams which don't get anybody. I guess that's just how it goes with the dream team. But yeah, every guy who I've picked here I think had a good game in their own right. It's not to say other guys played poorly, it just means the quality of rugby for the most part this week was pretty good. So in my props, I have picked Angus Ta'avao from the Chiefs. He's kind of had an amazing season in that before the start of the season he wasn't even in the starting, like, however many man squad they named. He was an extended kind of playing squad guy, but it speaks to the injuries the Chiefs had that he ended up kind of starting a game. You know, they've had really rotten luck with injuries, the Chiefs, but they're still getting results, so credit to them for that. Ta'avao, 11 out of 13 tackles, solid in the scrum, a try assist, 5 runs for 25 metres for a prop is pretty good stuff. If he can keep that kind of performance up, bin goes past my house. If he can keep that kind of thing up, yeah, there's no reason he can't kind of keep on like at top class Super Rugby level. He's kind of a journeyman at this point. He's been with the Blues, he's been with the Waratahs, he's now with the Chiefs, so he'll be looking to secure himself some regular starting footy, I'm sure. Performances like this, he's kind of one step closer. Next, I have picked James Slipper from the Reds. So 8 from 9 tackles, 9 runs, 12 metres, kind of appropriate for a prop that he makes 9 runs and only makes 12 metres. He managed to get a pilfer, and again the Reds scrum just looks mean. It wasn't quite as dominating as it has been in some previous games. The Jaguar is kind of impressed with their scrummaging. But Slipper is still, like, he's always been a guy who's really good around the park, but it seems like he's kind of upped his game in the scrummaging department in the last couple of years. So, yeah, good stuff in a pretty ugly game. You know, James still had a pretty good performance. Next, in a hooker, I swear this guy's going to get it every other week. So Malcolm Marks from the Lions. Man, 2 tries, a try assist. Like, have you seen that pass? Watch the highlights, man. A hooker shouldn't be able to pass like that, but I guess this is just the modern game. 6 runs, 17 metres, 10 out of 12 tackles. Just looked fired up. Like, is he the world's best hooker? If he's not, then who is? Honestly, the way he's playing is just, he's on another level. And yeah, he's, like, you don't usually say it about front rowers, but he's one of the most entertaining guys on the field, for sure. He brings it week in, week out. Great asset for South African rugby, without a doubt. In the locks, this guy was a pretty easy choice. Kind of like Marks. He is a special guy in his position. So Brodie Retallick, back fighting fit with the Chiefs now. 2 tries. Sound familiar? 6 out of 7 tackles, 59 run meters for that lumbering giant of a man. 4 line-out takes, 6 defenders beaten in his runs. So, yeah, I mean, he's just, like, again, for a guy in his position, for his body shape, it seems like some of the things he does he shouldn't be able to do, but he does them really well. And yeah, he's just one of the best players in the world, so it's great having him playing Super Rugby. It's great having him, you know, not off chasing money for now anyway. And yeah, showing us what he's got week in, week out. Next, I've gone for Matt Phillip from the Rebels. So you guys all know I'm a sucker for tries. So he scored a try, made 7 runs, made 6 out of 7 tackles, 3 line-out takes, and a line-out steal. So the Rebels had a poor result overall, but there were certainly some bright spots on that performance. The first half, for one, was good, and guys like Phillip still had good games. So just because the team got smashed doesn't mean there weren't some good things to see. So really hard call with the locks, to be fair. I think Retallick was always going to be in there, but Phillip and a few other guys were really hard pick from, but basically because Philip got a try, that put him just like one step above a few other guys. So yeah, I've gone for Philip. He's still pretty young. Definitely an exciting prospect for Aussie rugby. Next in the loose forwards, so I have gone for, from the Highlanders, Luke Whitelock. The guy is a defensive machine and has been for quite a while now. At the start of the season, I did a video on who the best defensive men were, and I think he made, was it more tackles than anybody else in Super Rugby last year? He's just, or is it average tackles? It was a major kind of tackle stat, and this is not surprising. 16 out of 17 tackles, including some pretty crunching tackles, which really put the Crusaders on the back foot in that game on the weekend. So 11 runs, just a solid guy. He doesn't get talked about as much as he should because he is doing that kind of gritty work that doesn't, I mean, the big hits show well on camera, but a lot of what he does is stuff that's not all that, you know, flashy. So yeah, very good performance from Luke. Now, a man who does do kind of headline grabbing, flashy stuff is Akira Ioane. So again, I said about him at the start of the season that he needed to up his game to put his hand up for All Blacks contention. He needs to get himself in that All Blacks conversation for 2019 World Cup. I think he's starting to do it. He's having a pretty kind of breakout season. After he initially came onto the Blues scene, he's kind of dipped off a bit in the shadow of his brother. But, you know, one try, a try assist, and it's another try. Man, he's getting tries pretty much every week. Fantasy team, he would be amazing. 11 runs, 45 meters, and 9 out of 11 tackles. So I've looked at his tackle stats in the past, and there are games where he scored tries but only got like 2 tackles in the whole game, which for a loose forward is pretty poor. But yeah, 9 of 11, I'll give him credit for that. In the Blues team, which got beaten pretty handedly, he still looked pretty good. Next, rounding out the loose forwards, so I have gone for Caleb Timu from the Reds. Again, ugly game, but kind of a game made for the loose forwards, I guess. You know, with all the handling errors and stuff, advantage being played and guys just scrambling around. So 12 runs, 62 meters, 5 defenders beaten, 18 out of 21 tackles. 8 out of 21, pretty poor, but 18 out of 21 is pretty good. So yeah, very busy night for Caleb. Yeah, and kind of like James Slipper in a game that wasn't all that pretty, still putting in that hard work to get the results. So he's exactly the kind of you know, player that Brad Thorne wants in the team. Guy showing a lot of work rate, a lot of effort, and really putting his body on the line. So good effort from Caleb Timu. Not a sexy choice as some other guys who carried the ball a bit better might have been, but I think overall stats pretty impressive. Next, Scrum-half was a really hard choice. I've ended up going with Duvanaka from the Stormers. Again, he got a try. It was probably the deciding factor, but he made a whopping 70 passes, and you'll say he's a halfback. Of course, he made lots of passes, but 70 is ridiculous. Most guys get like anywhere between like 30, late 30s to maybe 50s, but he got 70, so it was crazy. Got a try, made 6 out of 8 tackles, which is not bad for a halfback or scrum half. So yeah, he's having a good season. Stormers are lucky to have him. Hope he keeps on going. And number 10, so the fly half. I changed my mind a couple times on this one, but I've ended up going with Wharenui Hawera from the Brumbies. So I think partly his is not, it's not like tries. He did kick a lot of goals. He kicked 5 from 6 goals. You know, mixture of 2 conversions. I think he missed 1 conversion, got like all his penalties and got the other conversion. Some of his kicks were from 50 plus meters, which is kind of range that I didn't know he had. And he's showing that there's kind of another weapon for the Brumbies to use because their attack has been kind of iffy this season so far. But if you are playing the Brumbies now and you know that there's this guy who's going to kick goals from 50 odd meters, you're going to have to be that bit more careful against them. So yeah, good performance from him. And he, like, it doesn't show in the stats, but he threw the ball like really flat. Like he was making his guys run onto the ball, which was really helping them kind of push forward. And I think that'll help them going forward if he keeps going at 10. Based on this performance, I would hope he will. Next in the midfield, so I have gone with, from the Stormers, Damien Delendi. So again, I'm trying to balance my picks of guys who scored lots of tries and guys who kind of influenced the game itself. So, 8 runs, 50 meters is not world-beating stats, but still not bad. But he did make 8 out of 8 tackles and just generally kept the Blues quiet for most of the game. So he was marking, Sonny Bill Williams and Rieko Ioane. So I know Rieko shifted out to the wing at some point, but yeah, pretty potent guys, and he didn't pale in the pressure. So he kept up his performance and was pretty influential into the Stormers' win, which was good as well because he was supposed to have the flu during this game, or at least in the lead up to it. So yeah, very good performance from him. Again, he's one. Yeah. Not going to go into all those other guys I could have picked, but yes, I could have picked people who scored more tries in that position. But I think overall, a very good effort from him. Next, in the centres, I've picked Anton Leonard-Brown. So he did get a try, but he's traditionally more like what I described with Dale Indy. He's the kind of guy who controls the game, sets guys up, solid defensively. He's not a real... like Rieko Ioane if he's playing a centre style player, but he did get a try on the end of the game. 10 runs, 6 passes, which is kind of a decent amount for a guy in his position. He's out at 13. 10 out of 12 tackles, so yeah, good effort all round. Helped the Chiefs really kind of boss that game towards the end. So good effort from him. Next, who shall I say for last? I'm going to go with, in the outside back, so Israel Folau. Impressive from him in that he switched from fullback to the wing for the first time in many years. Didn't look out of place, and his stats are fine, like 8 runs, only 36 meters, 4 out of 4 tackles, which is good because a lot of outside backs seldom make all their tackles just because of the positions they kind of put in. But his work under the high ball, while it didn't immediately, like, he caught it and passed it and try, so he doesn't get kind of a try assist in like the fantasy rugby or stats terms, but it was often he caught a high ball which gave them field position, and a few phases later they scored a try. So overall his influence on that game can't be kind of understated. Coach of the Rebels after that game said that losing Dane Hallett-Petty was pretty crucial in that regard, because he would have been the one man to compete with Folau in the air. As it was, Folau kind of had free reign. Next, I've gone with Alamalo from the Chiefs. So he scored a try, 111 run meters, which is impressive. Anytime you can bust 100 meters on the run is pretty good. 7 defenders beaten, and again 5 out of 5 tackles, so made all his tackles. Yeah, good all-round performance. He's looking the business for the Chiefs for sure. Last one. When I saw these stats, I immediately wrote the name down, and there was no dislodging. Salmaki from the Sunwolves. So if you thought 111 meters from Alamano was impressive, so Salmaki, 1 try, 10 runs, 168 run meters. Yes. He had a 100% tackle rate in that he made 1 tackle and it didn't miss, so successful. 11 defenders beaten. There's a reason they call him the Tongan Godzilla over in Japan. And yeah, he had a pretty good game. So yeah, hopefully they can keep him fit, and be interesting to see some of these guys run at each other next week. So I do have a whole lot of Chiefs on this board. I think I got 4 Chiefs, 2 Stormers, 2 Reds, Lions, Rebels, Tars, Blues, Highlanders, Brumbies, and Sunwolves all represented. No Bulls, no Crusaders, no Jaguares, and no Sharks. As I said, there's players from pretty much all of the teams who could have been on here. Even some of the Jaguares guys in that performance performed well. If you just cut out the handling errors from that game, their stats would have looked pretty sharp. So yeah, do let me know who you thought should have made the list. I realize I've left out a lot of guys who played well. Like I said, it was just really hard, and I was constantly switching, scribbling guys out. So yeah, still all these guys pretty good week, and yeah, let me know your thoughts. Who did you think played well? Any of these guys you thought actually ended up playing rubbish? Keen to know. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again for another one soon. See ya.